So, first off, thank you so much for joining me. I just need to know, like, how has your summer been? I know in general for lacrosse and any sport in general, summer is the busy time of the year for everyone involved. So,
Yeah, summer is I like to say this the last couple of years. Honestly, summer doesn't feel like summer anymore. I used to be like a beach girl. I used to love summers. Summer feels like the heftiest workload of times now. Summers don't feel like summer anymore, but yeah, summer's busy, but it's good. I have the very strong sock tan lines right now. That's the way we like it in the lacrosse world. But summer's good. It's busy. I can't believe it's August, and I can't believe that there are, Halloween decorations out in the stores right now. It
oh,
is
that's
flown
crazy.
by.
I didn't
Yeah.
see that yet, but no, I used to rock it was basically a shin guard tan line because they used to
Mm.
make goalies wear the shin guards back in the day.
They used to make them wear them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now seems like there's no rules around shin
No,
guards.
no. I used to wear the sweatpants so that maybe they wouldn't notice if I wasn't wearing them, but I tried my best. But
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like there's less and less rules around things like that, like protective gear, but
it's
that's
it
just my opinion.
yeah, it's just the chest protector, helmet, and gloves right now. I'm pretty sure. So,
Okay, nice.
but so we're both from Long Island in general. You're from Suffolk, though, Islip.
Hmm.
I can admit that Suffolk is. I think Suffolk's a little nicer than Nassau, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I can admit it. I can admit it.
Okay,
Um,
that's impressive that you can admit it because I feel as if that's usually not the case. So I appreciate that. I
so growing
appreciate
up
that.
for you, it was your parents and your sister. What was kind of the atmosphere in your house growing up around lacrosse or just like athletics in general for you?
Yeah, so it was, yeah, just my parents and my younger sister. She's 2 years younger than me. Taryn is her name. And both my parents were athletes growing up. So we grew up in a very athletic household. Like the second that we were old enough, we were, playing sports in the backyard. We were, put right into soccer, into CYO basketball. We swam competitively
CYO.
growing up. Yep, CYO, you know exactly what it was. We swam competitively from the second we were, physically able to. And we were just kind of really active kids and loved doing every little possible thing. And we did it together because there was so little of an age gap. So it was just the two of us doing like everything together. Yeah, we just like didn't know a life where we weren't doing anything like that, right? Where there wasn't like a sport involved after school, and we loved it that way. Yeah, growing up around sports, like we kind of like were like those ideas around working hard, those ideas around sportsmanship, those ideas around, waking up early or staying, showing up to things early, showing up to and staying after a little bit, a couple minutes after to work on something you might have sucked at practice a little bit, things like that. Like those were instilled in us, like at young ages, I think, from our parents and, those kinds of lessons from young ages. And I think that's what made us the athletes that we were. And we're super grateful for it. But lacrosse was like neither of my parents played lacrosse. My mom played soccer in college. She played at Lynn University in Florida. And then my dad played baseball and hockey growing up. So neither of them ever played lacrosse before. But my sister and I picked up a lacrosse stick when I was in third grade and she was in first. And we just tried PAL for the first time and fell in love with it right away. They quickly became lax rats, just like us, taking us to all the practices, all the things. And I think it was a year and a half, 2 years later when we tried out for our first club team, which was, I think it was like Hornets at the time, but it was
Like
technically Yellow
pre
Jackets.
Yellow
Yeah,
Jackets. Yeah.
pre Yellow Jackets time. But it was Yellow Jackets it ended up being, and then we stuck with it ever since, like all the way through graduating. And yeah, they turned into lax rats from there.
Nice.
So we're very grateful for like that, support. I'm speaking on behalf of my sister, but
I'm sure she
yeah,
would say the same.
yeah, I'm sure she would say the same. But yeah, I think like growing up in a household like that where we just like they instilled a lot of those values in us where again, like showing up like early was on time, things like that.
If you're not 15 minutes
Respecting your
early, you're
coach.
late.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. Even if your coach is saying the completely wrong thing in your mind, like they're right, things like that. Respecting your coaches, respecting the opponents. If you're having a temper tantrum on the field, you're going to hear about it when you get home, kind of thing. Like those kinds of things, like we grew up learning about, and they kind of shaped who we were as people as well.
What do you think
And
the earliest memory for you is in your childhood that like it was kind of like, oh, like I really want to take this seriously?
lacrosse wise,
Yeah, or just like athletics in general that you kind of realized that like you were like above average. I'll use that word.
well, thanks.
You got to be
I
able to admit
guess,
that.
well, I guess, it's funny. It's like, I think back to we swam competitively, and I think like I think about this all the time. Like that's an individual sport, so when you compare it to everything else that or I'll stop saying we, but me and my sister played all the same sports, so I always say it, but that I did. So like I competed in the butterfly, which is also like such a random like thing. It's a really hard stroke, and probably all the way up until I was 13, and
It's a
I
while.
really enjoyed it. Yeah, like I really really enjoyed it, and very like opposite of lacrosse, very opposite. I played volleyball, basketball, and lacrosse all the way up until I graduated high school as well. And all of those aspects, again, like team sports, all of those different dynamics. And I really liked, the butterfly aspect and the swimming, like competitive swimming aspect. And I think, like, to answer your question of, like, when I realized, like, okay, I could, like, do sports at an elite level and, like, really dive into the mental, physical, like, all of the aspects of what it takes to be an athlete at an elite level and, like, really dive into this. And, yeah, just, like, kind of fully be an athlete. Was when I was swimming competitively. And I think it was some sort of tournament. I couldn't even tell you what it was, where it was, what it meant. But I broke some record in some butterfly
Okay.
race when I was like 12 years old. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, like, and it meant a lot, and I kind of, that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I could like really, when I put my all into something and I really focus on it and I could reap the benefits of it, it feels really nice to be, really great at it. And yeah, I think that was one of the first moments where I was like, okay, I like this.
Yeah, it's
I like
it's it's interesting that that moment for you wasn't lacrosse related, obviously, because
yeah.
you went on to do that for the rest of your life.
I'm sure
But
there were definitely moments after that, like in lacrosse, where,
yeah,
there were definitely moments down the line where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this sport, moving forward, and this is the sport that I'm gonna see myself playing college in, and I'm gonna see myself, okay, playing professional in and stuff like that. There were definitely moments like that for lacrosse specifically, but I think when I'm thinking of like pre-puberty Kylie,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that was probably it.
Yeah, I feel like it's sometimes the moments outside of what is, I don't want to say the norm, but like what is kind of your niche or your thing that sometimes shapes who you are with for that thing. I don't know if I'm like if that makes sense, but
Yeah, for
for
sure.
for you, you obviously stayed local. You went to Stony Brook. How easy was that decision for you to make when it came time to committing? Because the whole committing process was very different from when you committed versus when I committed because it
Yeah.
completely changed with the whole, like, before I got to high school, people were committing to schools in like eighth grade, which is crazy how that was ever allowed. It's ridiculous.
Yes, yeah. So when I was in high school, and prior to, there was no September 1st rule. So yeah, when I was in eighth grade, there were girls in my class that were saying, "Oh, hi, I'm in eighth grade, and I just committed to Northwestern, and I just committed to Syracuse." And
Yeah.
as an eighth grader, you're hearing that and you're saying, "Wait, what? They know where they're going to college already, and I don't even know where I'm going to high school." So like it's kind of that wild. that pressure-filled situation that a lot of these girls are feeling within their own recruiting process, but in junior year of high school in eighth grade. And I think that, yeah, it was a little bit different in that regard where there was a little bit of that like wild, wild west like situation, where there was no like age limits to it. And there was just a lot of like free flowing, kind of conversation and things like that. So for me, my situation was I had an injury my freshman year of high school. So I didn't play my freshman spring season with my
Yeah.
high school team, my varsity season. So when I went into that summer with Yellow Jackets, I wasn't the best version of myself. So when I played that season, it was, college coaches were looking at you, not the same way that they are now.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the highest looks that summer. And then I went into the fall year and then played in my sophomore varsity season. That sophomore summer, I had a much better summer. That's when I got the majority of my Division One looks and things like that. That's where Stony Brook saw me. That's where a couple other Division One schools saw me, like UMass, Loyola, Hopkins, Penn, a couple others. And it ended up being between Hopkins and Stony Brook for me, which were my top two. And
Two
I
great
decided
schools,
yeah,
education
fantastic
wise.
schools. Fantastic schools, locationally, academics, program wise, all of the above, right? I was like incredibly lucky and it ended up being like now that I'm talking about it, right? It ended up being that time frame wise, like I ended up committing literally the same time frame that now like September 1st ends up being. Like I ended up committing like August of that same time frame going into my like junior year. So it ended up working out the same time frame that like now is the
Yeah.
rule, but not because of the rule.
You're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game.
Yeah, it just kind of like worked out that way. But yeah, it was like I ended up staying home, quote unquote. I did move to Stony
Yeah.
Brook, which is 35 minutes away from my parents' house, but that's not what I wanted originally. I wanted to go far away from home. I was what my mom would call a rebellious teenager at the time.
And now you
I
got to
was
elaborate on that.
yeah, I mean, I was the oldest child. I was trying to figure out my way through life, and I was trying to figure out who I wanted to be as a person, um, and I think ultimately, like the best way that my mom and I describe it is that I just needed some freedom, and the second that I got to Stony Brook, my mom and I became best friends.
Yeah.
That's all I needed was a little bit of freedom. And I apparently all I needed was 35 minutes of freedom. So of distance and freedom. So it was great that I was able to find that and I was able to find my home in Stony Brook. And yeah, it was funny that I thought that I needed to go across the country or, a couple hours away to do that. But all I really needed was to find a place that was going to be, a bunch of people that had a like-mindedness to, we had a very like similar mindset, very similar goal set, which was, to take a program that had never done what it had done before, and climb to the top of the rankings and, make a bunch of program history that it had never done before. We all had that similar mindset of just like, okay, we're a bunch of Long Islanders, a couple out of towners who have never done any of these things
Yeah.
before individually, but also as a program. So let's come together, work really, really hard behind the scenes, and then show up against a bunch of nationally ranked programs and beat them, and then come onto the scene. So it was really special.
Yeah, well, in that same vein, during your time at Stony Brook, you kind of excelled into this, like, I don't want to say, like, influencer is not the right word because it was more of like I want to say like a mogul might even be a better word because it was before like social media, like, it was a thing, but it, like, you couldn't, it was like, social media was a thing, but it wasn't to the extent where people were like going like crazy online. How did you handle that kind of being one of the major faces of lacrosse during that time period? Because for me,
Yeah.
that's who you were. Like, you were the
Yeah.
person we watched growing up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I look at it all the time now because it was like I just missed that, like maybe by like a year or two, like right after I graduated was like that time of like what you call influencerism,
Yeah.
right? Like just missed that time of social media where like every college program now has basically like a content person at
Yeah.
practice every single day. And I'm
Yeah.
like, imagine we had a content person at practice every single day. Like, we would have blown up even more, you know? Like, so the fact that we were doing that as a program and like myself
Mhm.
as well, you know, and some of the players on my team as well, like, without that was really, really special. So, yeah, I think like to your point, it was like we had a lot of like internal conversations about like how do you handle that, and because that's something you don't prepare for, it's just something
No.
that ends up happening, right? And then you're like, when you're in it, something comes up, some article comes up, and then you get brought into your coach's office and you're like, okay, how do we handle this? Something comes up and how do we handle this? And something else comes up and there's a big game coming up, how do we handle this? So there was a lot of like conversations around like, okay, this is how we're gonna do this. This is how we're gonna handle this. This is how you're gonna handle yourself here. So I think like when it comes to those things, it was a lot of like step by step learning as I go, kind of thing. And I was very grateful to have a lot of people like in my corner throughout that. My coaching staff was fantastic. My
Mhm.
SIDs throughout the time were really, really helpful. My parents were awesome. You know, just like my support system was great, and then my teammates were great too. You know, like they had my back throughout everything. There was not a single like bad word said
Yeah.
in the locker room or outside of it, you know? So when there could, you know, like there
Mhm.
could have been anything that could have gone wrong. So I think there was, yeah, just a lot of support throughout all of it. And I think that it was, yeah, it was just like a really cool time to see it. And then I think like the biggest piece that came from all of that was just like block the noise,
Mhm.
like stay within your box, right? Like your box is in this locker room in this huddle. Yeah, there's a lot of like noise going on and it's really exciting, it's really awesome, but like that noise you're going to be able to look back on forever, right? There's articles, there's posts, there's things, but like that's going to live forever. You're going to be able to look back on that for years to come. And they're right. Like I can look back on that
Yeah.
now, right? I can like look back on the YouTubes now. Like I could still look back on it, but like I can't go back into a huddle now. You know, I can't go back into the locker room now. So it was just all about, you know, living in the moment and like being there and being present and like blocking all of that and just like really fully being in those moments.
Did that noise and attention ever feel too much for you at all?
I definitely did a lot of like personal work. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it never necessarily got to the point where it like did anything to break. But there were a lot of moments where it was like, it's a lot for sure, you know? But I did a lot of personal work to make sure that it didn't break me. So
That's good.
yeah, I think that there was a lot of work entailed to it. So if there's anyone out there that's listening that's going through something similar, like don't just let it continue to happen to you. Like make sure you're doing the work personally, like whether that's, you know, talking to people, you know, someone that can help you through it, or you know, there's lots of different exercises
Mhm.
and things you can be doing, you know, preventatively, but also like in the midst of it all
Yeah, I
to
do a lot of
support.
meditation personally, but that's
Mhm.
my mom's a huge mindfulness meditation
Yeah.
girly. She's really into all that. So it took me a while to come around, I won't lie, but
No,
I
it's true.
got
I've
there.
done mindfulness, meditation, visualization, journaling, like all of it.
Journaling works. Manifestation's real, I swear.
Yeah, it is. I 100% agree. I have journals from every single day of my
Mhm.
4 years at Stony Brook. So, yeah,
No,
I'm with you, girl.
but
Whatever works.
for you, you've been on. I was trying to get the exact number, but I couldn't figure it out. How many world teams for USA have you been a part of exactly?
Yeah, I have been um so I've been a part of like the USA system since 2016.
Okay.
My first tryout was when I was a junior in college, in 2016. So the World Cup team, like the World Cup was in 2017. So I made
Mhm.
that final, like all the way up until the final cut for 2017. And then I got cut right before that World Cup team for
Okay.
2017. Then after that, 2017, like back in 2018 when they restarted from 2018 to 2022, that was a 5 year round because of COVID. I was on that training team, and then I made the final roster for the 2022 World Championship. We won a gold medal in 2022, and then after that, I was on the box training team in 23 and 24, but never got to the final roster because of my knee.
Your knee, yes. So
Yes.
that was my next question, actually. So it was at that World Games where you got injured.
Yes. Yeah,
You
so the
were,
2022
yeah,
World Championship.
you were still able to watch
Yeah.
and like watch it all go down. How was that for you right after? I mean, obviously there's no correct answer for that one, but still being a part of it, but like not being able to physically play.
Yeah, so I mean, there was what? I'm gonna butcher this. I want to say there was 9 games. I don't know how many games there was. 7 games in 10 days, something like that. 7 or 8 games in 10 days, something like that. It was like the seventh of eighth game. It was the second to last game. It was the semifinal game that I did it in. So, and like the fourth quarter. So like I almost made it all the way through. Like I literally only didn't get to play in the championship game. And so like in my mind, you know what I mean? Like it could happen in the first game. And I
Yeah.
could have worked for since 2016 on the US team all the way up until that 2022 World Championship and then done it in the first game. Like this is my perspective on it, right? Like I'd done it in the first game and not been able to play for 8 games.
Yeah.
And that's my perspective on it. I got to play for like 6 games, 7 games, and then just miss 1 game. That kind of thing. Like I got to, be a part of most of the games and be out on the field and do what I was meant to do what I worked to do, be a part of everything, and then just be able to, be on the sideline and be a part of the game and cheer on my teammates and do what I was meant to do in that game, do what was supposed to happen for that game.
Yeah, that's a good outlook to have because otherwise you're
Yeah.
gonna start going down a rabbit hole that you don't want to go down.
For sure. And like honestly, I mean, listen, there's a lot of different ways you could look at it. The last couple of years, my brain has gone down all the rabbit holes, right? Because it does, especially when you've gone through this knee has gone through 3 surgeries and you sit there after surgery because there's nothing else to do and you're like, why me, why now, why this, why that, and you think about all of those different rabbit holes, right? So yeah, I think like trying to have that perspective of like trying to think about the most positive piece of like the perspective that you can have, that was it for me. Was like, okay, I only missed 1 game, I got to play the most possible that I could have, and to have played for 6, 7 years on the national team and have gotten to play for 6, 7 games on the national team in that tournament, like that's a pretty awesome amount. That could have happened in the first quarter.
Yeah.
That would have sucked. So
It's a solid number. It's a solid
yeah,
number.
like I'm good. And we still got a gold. Could have sucked if we didn't. So yeah. So I'm just like, I think that it's been like a pretty solid like piece of my mindset throughout the whole thing is. And yeah, like 15 months later after that, I did the whole thing again. I retore everything in my knee again. So throughout the whole process, I've just been trying to find those outlooks, those perspectives of just like, what is the, not necessarily the meaning behind it, but what is the perspective I could gain from this, right? Like because if I don't, like you said, there could be like a whole rabbit hole, a whole like, just basically black hole that you could go down.
Yeah.
Right? And what's the point of that? Because then you're just sitting there in sadness and that's no fun.
No,
So I think the finding the perspective piece of it is the fun part because it makes you really dig deeper. It makes you really like question a couple of things. It makes you think about things in a different way than you might not normally.
Yeah. And during that time, how much of your recovery time kind of allowed you to work on your brand? Because it almost seems as if that overlapped when you launched your own brand. Like, were you able to kind of utilize that time to like figure out where you wanted that to go for you?
Yeah, definitely. So KO 17 lacrosse was in like a really cool pivotal spot when I personally got injured because we had launched our mobile app actually in the beginning of 2020 when COVID hit, and that was obviously like a perfect time, obviously when COVID hit because it was a mobile situation. So we got a lot of community on there. But what happened for us in 2022 when I got injured was that I had a lot of time to basically like sit and take a second because for me what happens when I'm healthy and I'm able, I bop around a lot. I travel, I do all these things. I'm in a lot of different places. So that takes away from my space to be able to just like sit here and focus creatively on my work and like really dive into those things.
Yeah.
So when I did get injured, it gave me that like time to sit back and really focus creatively on it.
Mhm.
And at the same time, what was happening was that the NIL collective and like things like that actually just was passed. So we dove in from that perspective and we started the NIL section of KO 17 lacrosse, which allows, we actually signed 12 NIL athletes to KO 17 lacrosse, which we kind of work with them. We have 12 athletes in the high school and college space right now that we work with, kind of like mentoring them through a couple different things. Working with young athletes on the coaching side of things, but also helping them brand themselves through the lacrosse space and
That's
then giving
awesome.
them opportunities through our brand to help give them experience doing certain things that they might want to do in the future, whether that might be broadcasting things in the future. Maybe that's marketing analytics things in the future that can help use the KO 17 app and brand and things like that. They can help do graphic design. They can help with KO 17 lacrosse do that. So they're almost basically like KO 17 athletes slash interns,
Mhm.
and yeah, they kind of get experience and opportunities through NIL
That's
with
awesome
us. Yeah, and we help
because
support them
I
on and
feel
off the field.
like especially it's so new, but
Mhm.
we are adults at that age, but at the same
Yeah,
time you're still so young and you're learning things. So having someone to help you kind of navigate that's
yeah,
really interesting and really cool. I didn't know that that was a part of your brand at all. That's really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So it's definitely still pretty new, but it was something that we dove into, like
Mhm.
to your point, when I was injured. So we kind of like fully dove into that, and it's been really fun to kind of give them the platform to not
Yeah.
only like just like expand KO 17 lacrosse from just me to these athletes, and we're hoping to expand it to some more here in 2025 and
Yeah.
2026.
And you brought up the whole broadcasting thing.
Hmm.
When was that? Can you walk me through that decision of when you realized, like, I think that this is something that I'm gonna fully dive into because you were playing in the
Yeah.
pro league and then you eventually started sidelining for them as well. So
Yeah.
how was that decision made for you?
Yeah, that was again something that came out of injury. So it was another opportunity that came from, I guess, negative, like a positive that came from negative,
Yeah.
right? And it was something where, so when I re-tore everything in my knee, it was a conversation that I had with, the higher ups at the league, and it was, hey, I'm not going to be able to compete, but if there's any, opportunity here, I've been broadcasting at the collegiate level
Yeah.
for a few years now, since 2021. It's been about 3 years. Here's my experience. If you have any space for this, um, this could be an opportunity. Let me know, kind of thing. And sometimes you just got to throw yourself out there.
Yeah.
And that is what I learned from that. And they were gracious enough to grant me the opportunity to be the field reporter alongside two awesome people, Joe Beninati and Courtney Martinez Connor, who were up in the booth. And I was their field reporter. It was a really cool kind of mix of a sideline reporter and a they wanted like a different twist on it.
Like an
Where it wasn't
analyst, like on the sideline almost as well.
Yeah, it was an
Interesting.
analyst on the sideline, but at the same time, kind of like an active sideline reporter where
You're
there was some
playing.
fun little twists where I was like running, into the mix a little bit, like in between breaks. I would walk with the goalie back to the crease, and then, or I'd walk, with the draw specialist back to the center. Kind of just a little bit more of like an active twist to it. So it was fun, it was challenging, it was new, and it allowed me a space to challenge my broadcasting talent, but at the same time, it also gave me, as a player, it gave me the space to be around my teammates in a time where, it was a little bit of a dark time for me, right? Getting injured again after just being injured
Yeah.
the year before. So to be around them where I was supposed to be around them as a player was really special. So yeah, I can't thank them for that opportunity.
Yeah, that's also, I like the way you describe that, the walking to and from. That's a different twist, and that's also interesting from a viewer
Yeah.
perspective as well. But you mentioned being able to kind of be a part and around the sport while also not being able to play it, which is never easy. A lot of people don't really talk about how mentally taxing it is when you are injured. Like one of my friends, she was very, very injury prone. She like tore her ACL twice. Then she tore her labrum, and then like she was out for 4 years. Probably has like 4 more years of eligibility. She's not
Oh,
taking it,
girl.
but
You want to hang out, girl? Let me know.
but she mentioned like how hard it is to like watch rather than. So now they have like clubs at least my school they have where athletes who are injured can go and talk together about it, which is very interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's really smart because I noticed that unless unless you're talking to an athlete or an athlete or a teammate, right, who has done it previously and like gotten injured previously is basically what I'm saying
Yeah.
in their career before, they cannot relate. So
No.
like that is the hard thing, right? Like I've noticed that before where like if I'm starting to have a conversation, if they ask how I am or how I'm doing mentally or something like that, like tend to keep my answers pretty short if I know that they can't relate.
Yeah.
But if I know it's someone who has done it before, I can actually start to get into it with them because I know that they know what I'm talking about. And it's not, because I don't like that person or I know that, it's just more because I know that they can't relate to it, so they can't really quite understand what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get into. And it's no fault of their own, but it's really great that things like that exist, right? Like clubs like that exist because again, it's a different thing that certain people go through. And it has so many different levels and layers to it and feelings and emotions to it that if you can relate to it, like I think it's good to talk about in a familiar setting.
Yeah. I've never been injured, thankfully. But
Yeah.
I would get people talking to me because as a goalie, it's like you're either in the crease or you're standing behind the net. There's really not. So I was kind of like, someone's always talking to me at some point. So
Right. And again, like to your point, like I would love to ask you too, like sometimes would you like not know what to say? You know what I mean? Like in certain areas you'd be like,
yeah, there were times where I'm like, yeah, I
yeah,
don't really know like what you like.
what
Yeah,
the right answer
yeah.
is,
I'm
like,
like, I'm not going to tell you that this doesn't suck because it
yes,
does. Like
right.
what was crazy to me is when someone would get injured, we would like move to the other side of the
Right.
field and continue practice. I don't know why it was so mind-boggling to me. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
are we all acting like this didn't just happen? Like I'm like
Yes.
this just happened. Like I'm like it also like the one I'm describing. Someone fell into my crease, so I'm like helping them up. And like whatever, and they're like, "All right, we're going." I'm like, "Are we?" I'm like, "I'm not gonna
You're like,
leave."
hold on.
I'm like, "This
No, you're
doesn't
right.
seem fair."
You're right. It's a wild, like wild thing.
Yeah,
And it's just a crazy part about sports that you're just expected to just be like, if it's not you, you're just supposed to like
Yeah,
continue on. But and
I
yeah, the
I don't
etiquette
know.
behind it too. Like again, it's just
Something's got to go. Something's got to give over there. But
yeah. But yeah, no, I know, but I do agree with you. I think that's really cool that like, and I think that's just the point behind this conversation too. Is just to like find some people that have gone through something similar, right? Or who can relate, because it's really helpful to be able to just like have an ear that might be like, okay, I have done something similar. I hear you. But at the same point to that too, not necessarily, I think this is important too, not necessarily saying, oh yeah, I did that too. Let me tell you all about mine really quick. And just
yeah,
like
there's a
speak.
fine line
Yeah,
between
there's a fine line
listening and
between,
then,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
more just about listening and being there rather and like being able to relate, but not necessarily overpowering someone's, feelings with your own. It's
yeah.
more just like about being able to say like, okay, I hear you and I feel you because same. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
is I guess my point.
this is what helped me. Maybe you could use this. Not
Right.
this is what happened to me. This is how how I felt, because it's not
Yeah, this
happening
is
to
what
you right
helped
now.
me. You should feel less about your situation because mine was worse,
Yeah,
kind of
no.
thing. Like
I
that's
always
not.
say, like, for not even injury wise, emotions and trauma in general, everyone has their own shit.
Yeah.
So it's like that doesn't mean what just because yours was on an umpteenth scale makes the person whose was this small, I guess,
Right.
any less. It still hurts them.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah, it's not a
it's
it's not a scale, it's not a comparison. It's just more of a
yeah.
like, hey, how can I help kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know what you're up to right now, would you mind just sharing that a little bit with them? Because you made your return. You made
I
your
did. I did. I played in the so I play in the WLL. I play with the New York Charging. So the WLL is the Women's Professional Lacrosse League. And yep, I play for New York. And we played in February. It was the Champ Series. We lost in the championship, so we're out for vengeance next time we play. But yeah, I made my comeback in February, my second comeback. And yeah, so on top of running KO17 Lacrosse, which is a development company, I also help run TBD Lacrosse, which is a little bit more of an exclusive elite development company, co-founded with my performance coach of 15 years, probably 15 plus years now. I don't want to date myself.
you're not that old. You're saying it like you're like 50.
No, I know, but like every time I say it, it like I say 15 years, but like I've been saying it for
Yeah.
years. We always joke about it, but I've been working with them since I was like 14, so
Oh, okay.
it's probably longer now. Um, and yeah, I mean, I do some broadcasting in the college and the professional world. I help coach with the U17 Team USA development team. I travel all over the country helping with camps, clinics, developmental programs. I'm everywhere.
Yeah. Doing here, there, and everywhere right now.
Here, there, everywhere. And yeah, I appreciate you having me.